Hello and welcome. This is the finals to ZOTAC number 260 between Lucifer spawning as the teal undead in the top right versus Infi spawning as the orange human in the bottom left. This map is Amazonia and we're going to have a hell of a match under the way, I do believe, judging by last game. Infi wants this victory and so does Lucifer, I'm pretty sure. I can just kind of see it in their nameplates. It's like, you might not notice that, but there's a slight tinge of red. It's some bloodthirst. They're both going for the gold here. I don't think Infi has made it to the finals in a while in ZOTAC. I don't know if he ever has. I don't know how much he plays ZOTAC or has played ZOTAC, but he's in the finals and he definitely is a contender for the victory. There's no doubt about that. And over here we do have Lucifer, who of course, this is his 8th ZOTAC, or no, his 5th. I think it's his 6th ZOTAC finals in 8 games. He has won 4. Ah, Christ's sake. I'm starting to forget things. I had all this out, but either way, Lucifer's done really well, and I think I've already said all this in game 1, and so this is game 2, and then there will be at least a 3rd game, you know, depending on what happens, and hopefully maybe even 5. So we'll see. And yeah. That's that. We do have a Death Knight being spawned by Lucifer. I'm going to go ahead and pick up a Rod of Necromancy. We do have a Footman coming over here to scout. Of course, Lucifer already has that Nerubian Tower finished, so there's nothing he can really do. Otherwise, we do know that human footmen like to come in here and try to hurt your acolytes, but of course, when you have that Nerubian Tower already done, it doesn't really do anything. And as long as, and you may also wonder, why would you keep sending your footmen if you know it's not going to do anything? If you know your opponent's got the Nerubian Tower, it's just to keep them. You want to keep them doing that Nerubian Tower, and if you stop sending the footmen, they can stop making the Nerubian Tower. Now over here we can see this is going to be the Death Knight coming right into here, and it looks like he's actually got to trap off onto that Archmage by himself with that skeleton. But however, actually nicely getting out of there. Infi kind of messing his micro up right there because he did have that Death Knight in this round and he was going to be able to force a TP Auric death. But he did go ahead and screw that up just a little bit. I mean, I think. I'm not going to say 100%, but it looked like he did. And now you can see that he's going to be able to finish off that creep with no problem. So he does get level 2, and the Death Knight has 73 XP, which is a reasonable amount. He got a steal on there somewhere, and did, I believe, get a couple of peasants. So that is not bad, not bad. We have over here for the Archmage up to 260 HP or experience, really nice. And here we can see that this is going to be something where, sorry. Well, what are we going to see? Because we might see Infi decide to go ahead and do a fast expansion right there at that gold mine. Wouldn't shock me to see him come up to this one either, but
player's forces are under attack.
I don't think he's going to do that. Sometimes you might see a human try to sneak an expo when they don't want to be harassed, but ideally you'll take this one, and this is in fact what we're going to see. Infi's had quite a good early game, so looks like this is indeed what he's going to take, despite that Death Knight being right here. He's very confident that he can deal with this Death Knight harass, and in fact is going to be able to, just by putting 2 militia on him, and then now right-clicking that Death Knight as well with that Archmage, it's going to be enough to really cause enough damage and take things out. You can see really nice tanking done with the Water Elemental, stopping tanking damage onto that Water Elemental, this way that it can't be coiled essentially. That's what your goal is against all of this. You don't want it to be coiled and die, and that's essentially what we're seeing happen. Really nice items here for this Archmage, really perfect items for this early game harass. There's really nothing that Lucifer can do to the Archmage at this point now that he has the ability to go invisible, and he also has a 500 HP greater healing potion. So those are really nice. We do see 4 of these peasants are able to stay alive. Lucifer usually can do a better harass on the peasants than this. However, everything kind of worked out really well for Infi. He has done a great job this game. His early game is quite stable, so we'll see what happens. Will Lucifer be able to turn this around and win 2 games in a row, or will he be forced to see a 1-1 state in game 3? We'll find out. And I probably shouldn't have said that. I just realized, because now if you haven't watched the first game, then you're probably like, oh, thanks, jackass, and to which I do say sorry, but it slipped. I wasn't thinking, so sorry. We do have a Footman Scout running around, and it looks like Lucifer is about to hit tier 2. And if we come down here, we can see there are some skeletons down here trying to kill a peasant. If they get that, that's going to be awesome. Not quite, very close, but not quite. 1 hit away from killing that peasant. Getting picked off. Of course, we did have Infi's army right there, just kind of waiting. I think he might have been up here and saw those skeletons running down and chased them. But either way, they are going to see that the army is on the move at this point, and we have Lucifer actually going ahead and trying to get some creeping off. And they're right here. This is the Great Flying Sheep. that all sheep taggers know, essentially, if you're a sheep tagger. Unless you're one of those guys who just started within the past few years. If you don't know what sheep tag is, it is a custom map on Warcraft 3, and it's got a decent little following. It's got a competitive scene even on BNet. And it's a pretty fun game, and I used to play a lot of it years and years ago, so I still love it. But that's not the point. That's not the point at all. We just see Lucifer getting one of his fiends surrounded by these footmen. That fiend will go down, and you can see a footman going down as well. Of course, losing a footman is not nearly as bad as losing a fiend, so that is definitely a nice bit for Infi. And we do see another footman going down. Several of these skeleton warriors are out at this point, so it's going to be a lot harder for Infi to do anything. But his goal here is, of course, as always, just to stall. He needs to stall this undead, because if the undead comes down here, then the undead is going to be able to do so much damage, especially Lucifer, who is just absolutely amazing at, you know, keeping his base alive without his army at it against this human harass, which is something that is truly phenomenal, I think, because it's really hard if you've not tried it. It is really hard to do that. So anyone who can do that is always just, it's impressive. It really is. So here we do see the Lich has come out, and we're about to see level 3 on this Death Knight. And the Lich will be able to sit right here and wait just a minute to get the items that he wants. As you can see, he's probably going to buy a health potion as well. That Death Knight is a little bit low. That's 150 gold. Well, he wants a Blight Skull. That's good too. That's always the HP regeneration, and there's the health potion, so, or the potion of healing. And so here we do see that this is Lucifer's army kind of running about. Here we do see that this is Infi's Archmage chilling out. He does have a Dust at this point, as well as a Cloak of Shadows. Dust isn't a bad item to have. And here we do see, it looks like Lucifer is going to be able to get a little bit of a Jack going off. Coil Novaing that Archmage, not really going to try to focus that down as much as he's going to worry about these footmen. And there's going to be the items picked up by the Lich. He's going to go ahead and finish this off. There's no reason not to. There's a Crypt Fiend being ensnared, and we do have that Archmage running straight into this shop, buying a Staff of Teleportation and teleporting out while taking a bunch of damage from those creeps and forcing the Greater Healing Potion to be used by him. Of course, that was partially coming in from that Coil Nova. He could run by the Undead Army. Another Coil Nova would have caused him to either die or force a TP. You see this Goblin Shredder is coming in to fight this, and we do have these towers that are greatly exposed, but they're not finished going up yet, and so we do see there are going to be plenty of militia coming in. Again, what is Infi trying to do? He is trying to delay. He doesn't want to take any direct fights over here at this expansion, and he just needs to delay. We do see that Lucifer doing a good job drawing the army off onto his heroes, while that's going to give him enough time to go ahead and start taking out some towers that are going up with his fiends. Infi trying to prevent that using repair very effectively, but it's really only going to matter on one of these. The other two the other two or three really are going to go down, and there's nothing that Infi can do about that. He could not out repair that damage if he wanted to. There's just not enough space for those peasants to go around it and actually do that, especially at only one level of masonry. If it was level 3, maybe even level 2, but otherwise 4 fiends is just enough to really do a lot of damage to any kind of towers that are being built. Now you can see the Infi is going to say, well, I have these 2 towers, they're going to be a lot harder for him to take down. I can start building towers behind that. Now you can say, well, of course the fiends could move a little bit closer and kill those. That's true, but it's always a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more risky to do that. You don't want to move too far in. You definitely don't want to end up in a situation where you're trapped with a bunch of militia behind you and towers in front of you. And of course you say, well, he'd move out of the way, and that's true, you would definitely try to, but it's just a risky thing. So in general, that's why you don't see people as apt to do that, and that's why you would build towers behind rather than in front, even if the better position for those towers is right here. So it's just one of those things. Infi needs those towers to be up, and he knows that with them going up, even back there, even if it's not the better positioning, he knows that it's going to cause Lucifer delay, lots of delay, and that's what matters. So we can see that Death Knight was had 4 mana, and this is indeed what we're going to see happen, exactly what I said, where he's going to run in. But again, as you can see, this is just more risky. Imagine that a bunch of militia are hugging the tree line, coming in here, giving Lucifer very little time to react if that happens. Now, having said that, he is not going to have that concern in this game. That did not happen, but it's something that you always have to be wary of, especially when you're assaulting the expansion. And it's especially unlikely if they've already sent one wave of militia your way. But of course, it's just one of those things. You never know. Now we do see that Death Knight, really, the only thing that's really bothering him at this point is taking damage from that Arcane Tower. He's not really taking all that much. It's only going to be doing, you know, a little bit of damage. We do see a Mountain King coming in, actually, so the bolt's going to be really nice. And we're going to see perhaps this Fiend. Yes, it's going to go down. There's no way to keep it alive. We do have a Dust on this Archmage, so if he does have a Burrow, it's not going to stay alive against that, and there isn't any mana whatsoever on the Death Knight. Of course, he was just tanking that Arcane Tower with him. a good job by Infi to keep this Expo alive, just delaying as long as he can. And here you see these are going to be Infi, or Lucifer deciding to start creeping again while he goes ahead and buys over here at a shop. Now, he did go ahead and do a straight tier 3. This really wasn't the strategy that we've seen him do several times before, where he goes and makes a huge tier 2 push, which delays his tier 3. But we didn't see that, and probably my guess for that is because of the fact that he didn't have that great of an early game in this game. I would say that Infi's done a pretty good job, and he's held on to his advantage decently well. When you only lose a couple of building towers, I think he lost maybe 7 total. That's not hugely bad. It's really not. We do have a Spirit Tower as well as a Nubian Tower up at this point, and Infi is going to come in here and try to do some harass. We do have a Sapper up right there, and a Sapper is going to just blow up a little bit right there onto that crypt, not doing a huge amount of damage to anything important, because that crypt is very unlikely to go down. But if it does go down, that's a pretty big deal. We do see Lucifer already losing 2 of his ghouls, and this is what I was talking about. Lucifer just really is someone who's very comfortable with letting his base deal with itself. He is down here, fighting over here, and fighting out these towers. We do see, looks like an Acolyte is very likely to go down there. Yes, indeed. I think he's lost all of his schools at this point, and it looks like that is indeed the case. He is making extra Acolytes at right now. He does have 2, actually. He has 5 right there, or in this one, no, so one extra Acolyte, and of course he knows that he's going to lose another Acolyte at this point, so it's fine to go ahead and make extras. He's not too terribly concerned about it. He's running them away, microing away from these as much as he can, taking a ton of damage. Looking back over here, we can see that lots of these towers have gone down. Now Lucifer's Death Knight is taking quite a bit of damage. He's going to be forced to run back, probably sit on this Blight for a little bit and heal on using the Unholy Aura and the Statue. A Statue actually goes down from Tower Focus. Unfortunate for Lucifer now. Infi has decided to back off from Lucifer's base. Lucifer having all of those 5 Acolytes, not really being too concerned. We do see that here comes this army. There are now 4 Spellbreakers out. That's usually the magic number we see when humans start to feel they're more comfortable and ready to defend with their Spellbreakers. Isn't it 2, but it's usually at 4, and it's occasionally at 3, as we saw in Game 1. We do see that there's only 3 towers left up at this point. They have level 2 masonry, and these farms, of course, again, as many buildings as you can place between your towers and your opponent's army is great, because they're running in here again. It always presents that risk of what happens if they come in behind me. Do I get trapped in here with these towers? It's not something I want. So we do see that the 4 Spellbreakers by themselves, not really enough to do too much to this particular army. There are too many Fiends right here. We do have 5 Fiends as well as a level 3 Lich with an Orb. So that's really a lot of damage, and these Spellbreakers don't have any upgrades at all. So, but it is enough to delay. It's enough to delay, and that's what he needs to do as Infi. Infi just needs to keep delaying. He's doing a good job of doing just that. Here we do see, are there going to be any goals coming up anytime soon? There was one goal over here at some point, so I'm not sure if it died or if it ran back. I don't see it over here at the base, so it looks like it probably ran back. Anyway, I'm sorry. Wow, I feel like an idiot. I do see Mountain King died. The Archmage went to pass him a potion and unfortunately dropped it on the ground. The Lucifer's Death Knight actually managed to pick up, and I'm sorry that I missed that. I was just trying to find that goal. I guess that wasn't really all that important. So yeah, that was a bad timing by me. But anyway, we do see that this is now with all these Spellbreakers, there's quite a few at this point, and they are going to be able to force the Undead into really awkward positions here, and that's good for him. And now we can see there's going to be a Crypt Fiend that's going to go down here, most likely indeed, because it's very low. There is a Crypt Fiend that has been surrounded. It will also go down. Yes, indeed, that is two fiends down. I think maybe even 3. I'm not sure. Probably just 2 though. Here we see Lucifer going for a Naga third. A Naga third is an interesting choice. It's not a bad one at this point. He's definitely in a position where he can win the game here with a really strong push, and Naga is perfect at strong pushes. And this Shredder is very likely to go down as well. Losing a Shredder at this point, not a huge deal, as he does have a bunch of stockpiled wood, but not something you really want either. And it looks like that Shredder isn't going to go down either way, so not too big of a concern. Getting out of there with 22 HP, being really efficient with that Shredder actually, just because it's a really strong unit in a fight. But if you can tank some damage on it and not lose it and deal some damage, that's fairly efficient, especially if you don't need the wood while it's fighting, which Infi clearly just doesn't. So over here we can see that is going to go down. I believe that was a shop indeed. And here we can see this expansion is getting fairly protected again. It's going to be really hard for Lucifer to come in and do anything there. But what he could do is he could just attack that town hall. It would take a while to go down, but he could do that if he wanted to, and then kill the peasants. And that's something that we definitely I wouldn't be surprised to see at all. Now here is Infi's army. Of course, in order for Lucifer to do that, he would have to be able to deal with this army, and he could deal with this army as long as he's not in tower range. I think his army is pretty much capable at this point. We do have level 4 on that Archmage, but still it's only level 1 on that Mountain King, and so he's going to creep this out. It's going to give him level 2 on that Mountain King. I don't think it quite will give him level 5, so it looks like he might not. In fact, he's just going to try to get as close to level 3 on this Mountain King as he can. But here comes Lucifer's army with that scout, and with those queued up, rallied up Abomination and Fiend right there that we have. So it's going to be really nicely done for Lucifer, bringing those statues again into the middle of the fight, something that a lot of people don't do, because you need those units. But with them in the middle of the fight, they block, they tank, they're really well, and it's really unlikely you see anybody actually just turn around and right click them in a fight such as that, where their positioning is really difficult to surround them because they're surrounded by fiends as well. So in that sort of a positioning, it's just really smart to have them like that, because you can only attack them really from kind of like one side, and it'd put you into a really awkward position to right click on with them, because they get right there in the middle, right between all those undead units. Now that's not to say that you can't right click and kill them. Of course, killing statues is something that is pretty much most players' favorite pastime, from what I can tell. You gotta kill them. They're really high priority targets, but they're also really hard to kill when you place them in smart positioning the way that we've been seeing Lucifer do. So it's one of those things. It's like, you know, you want to kill it, but usually it's better to focus on whatever is out of position. So let me see that here is Infi teeping out of here, not before he goes ahead and finishes off that creeps item dropping guy, which is going to drop him a Scourge Bone Chimes, which is nice. It's going to give him, of course, what is that, 15%? Yes, 15% damage dealt converted to life, and that's going to effectively work on the Mountain King and on any militia that he has. So you might say, well, is it worth selling if it's only working on the Mountain King? Honestly, the Mountain King takes a lot of damage, but he can also deal a lot of damage, so I think it's worth having, even if it was just for the Mountain King. Over here we can see Lucifer is going to go ahead and throw down an Necropolis right here. Not his expansion, just his Necropolis. And he does get scouted by one single Spellbreaker. His Acolyte's going to be forced to run away. Now, if that Spellbreaker chases him, he's not going to be too concerned about losing that Acolyte over here on this side of the map, because he can always rebuild another one from that Necropolis if it goes up. Over here we can see that here is the rest of Infi's army trying to do some kind of damage to Lucifer's main base. We do see there are 2 Spirit Towers, and here comes 2 Sappers, in fact, and a Nerubian Tower. Is going to be able to get those Sappers down. Looks like one of those Sappers, nope, both of those Sappers are going to blow up. One of the buildings, one of the Ziggurats goes down. This Graveyard is going to need a massive amount of repairing very quickly if it gets right-clicked, and it's going to probably go down here very shortly. I'm going to be shocked if he doesn't go ahead and kill that. We do have a Spellbreaker right there doing that. And down here we can just have a little status update where we can see Lucifer absolutely annihilating this with his army. It doesn't really matter how good you build your base and how well you place your towers and other buildings. If you don't have any army there, a big enough undead army, at this point as you can see a late game, enough undead army is going to be able to just steamroll right over that. And over here we can see there are those towers right there that are really difficult to take down when they're being repaired, and so that's what we did see. Infi wasn't able to take those down while they're being repaired, and so he switched to attack the Acolytes, and the Acolytes ran away, and so that's Undead. It's Undead's base really good, and it turns out it's a lot better than we probably thought. I say we, people in general probably thought it would ever be for defending itself, because it's normally not considered a base that you can defend itself with. It's normally considered a strong base because the buildings that are there, and it allows you to have a good position with your fiends, you know, and you have that slow, so that incredibly powerful slow. It's really powerful, but you know, I mean, just Lucifer makes it look easy. He makes it look really easy to keep that base alive, and that's impressive. So of course I am an undead player, so I'm a little biased there. Infi's not been doing a terrible job. He's kind of been losing slowly this advantage, taking some bad fights, and his delay, he did a really good job with delaying, but he took some really bad fights, and it's just been hard on him this game. So is he going to be able to turn this around? It's not looking too likely, but we do see that Paladin coming into the fight, actually getting staffed out, but somehow he died anyway in the base. I'm not totally sure about that one, but he did. So we can see some Spellbreakers going down. The Naga dodges the bolt with not a greater, but a potion of lesser invulnerability, a 15-second one. And you can tell that it was a 15-second one. Oh, maybe not. That's odd. Normally, if it's only a 7-second one, and that was a 7-second one indeed, it should blink because it's less than 10 seconds, but that time it didn't blink on my screen, or maybe I'm just blind. It didn't look like it was blinking. It's supposed to blink, but whatever. Any kind of buff that has less than 10 seconds on it normally blinks. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'm blind. That's probably more likely. It might have been a little bug there, or whatever. Who knows? You guys will probably be able to tell really easily. I can't rewind the replay to find out. But Naga, yeah, the Naga did indeed go down actually. So there is that. And we can see this is Infi's army kind of being decimated at this point by the rest of Lucifer's army. Of course, he does have 5 on that Death Knight, almost 6, and really close to level 5 on that Lich. Here comes that Paladin back out, and now trying to do some damage. Level 3 on that Mountain King, level 5 on that Archmage. But again, a much bigger army right now from Lucifer. If we look over here, we can see he does have that Necropolis up. He doesn't need to expand right now, and he can expand if he wanted to. He doesn't have enough wood for it. But it is something that's there. He's already going to have that blight spread there, and he's going to have a pretty big building to help block in case he does need to throw that expansion up and need to defend that. It's going to be really easy with that Necropolis already up. Over here we can see that there are going to be lots of units just dying basically, essentially, right there. And those peasants, really not a lot they can do against that. Of course, they just keep mining gold. That's what they do. It's like, it's all we know how to do is mine gold. And so they mine gold. But here we do see, it looks like the Abomination is going to go down. It looks like Lucifer might have been saving that quill, maybe to try to pick off that Mountain King. Indeed, that's what he was trying to do. But it does get staffed out of there, no problem. And here we do see these Spellbreakers, the last 2 that we are in Infi's army at the moment, are going to go down. And now you might see these Water Elementals getting killed because they're just doing so much damage right now. And they're a little bit annoying, but they also give experience, and they're fairly easy to kill. So we might see that it looks like that Lich is taking a little bit of damage, but he has enough mana, enough life at this point where he's not really in any real danger to dying from like a bolt or anything. We have some militia coming in here. I think at this point Infi's delaying tactics might need to turn into something else, maybe harassing tactics or something. But he keeps trying to harass, and we actually have Lucifer with 2 acolytes who aren't even mining at this point. So not a huge issue considering that he's doing just fine, but not something that you really want to have happen to him. He might fix that at some point. But in the meanwhile, it looks like he's going to go ahead and finish this off. He did go ahead and look into his base just for a moment there, it looked like, but with his Naga. But maybe he was like, I don't have enough money to really buy anything I want on it, so maybe I'll just wait and get like a staff and then just TP down here. So that might be what we see happen. She might pick up boots instead. We'll see. We'll get lots of good items she could potentially get, and the game has ended. So I believe that is Infi calling GG. I didn't see anything. I heard a chat message. I'm assuming that was Infi saying GG and then leaving. So there we do see that. That is a little bit of a buggy end, as you can tell. It says 0 out of 0-0. So, but either way, Lucifer did indeed win that game, so there is that. And if you want to watch Game 1, you can watch that right here. Just click this little annotation. And if you'd like to watch Game 3, then you can click that. Just click right here. Just click that little annotation. And I'll see you guys in Game 3.